Looking for all the latest tips, tricks, updates of what's going on in the recruiting industry, check out the Digital Recruiter Sunday night newsletter. I am not here to blow up your inbox. I don't have enough time to create an email every single day. I once a week send you impactful, a big thing that I've learned this week or realized from working with hundreds of recruiters, owning an agency myself. I'm in the trenches every day like you are, and I'm sharing everything that I'm seeing every Sunday, from content, from automation, from how to get better clients, how to find candidates quicker, how to grow your team, how to hire people, everything in between. The link is in the comments. Sign up today, or you can go to my LinkedIn profile, Clark Wilcox. It's the first link on my featured section. You can sign up there. It's all free. So you get all the tips, everything that you need, free in your inbox every Sunday night. Sign up today.
All right, welcome back. Another episode, Digital Recruiter Podcast from the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit in Vegas. I've been having a great time. I've been meeting people that I've known virtually and now meeting in person, which is awesome. And one of those is Chris Cabe. He's recruiting team lead at Capstone IT. Chris, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
glad to be here.
Yeah. So first off, give us a little bit of background, who you are, what you recruit for, you work for, all that. Give us the lowdown.
Yep. So I work for Capstone IT. We are a IT staffing and solutions firm headquartered in Omaha, have offices in Kansas City and Salt Lake City as well. And we primarily focus on IT roles. We do some rev ops, go-to-market type roles as well, digital marketing roles, stuff like that. I've been with Capstone now about 6 years, a little over 6 years. Before that, did some internal talent acquisition stuff, and had a chance to come to Capstone and open our office in Kansas City, and been doing it ever since. So,
Wow, not a ton of people go internal in the agency.
yeah.
What was some of that what was that initial transition like for you?
Yeah, it was. It definitely was interesting, but it was a really good opportunity to come work for a company that I really aligned well with their values, and work with somebody I'd worked with previously, and stuff like that. And we've been having a lot of fun ever since.
Nice.
So,
I love that. I love that. So what has been, this is your first time at ERE?
it is. Yep.
What's been the first main takeaway that you've had?
Yeah. Biggest thing is just, AI's here and it's going to stay. And, I think, there's all sorts of noise we were talking about before, right? There's all sorts of noise, on new products, tools, things that, will make your recruiting team more efficient, stuff like that. And, so it's really kind of interesting hearing, both from internal folks and some agency folks, what they're seeing, what they're running into, what are some of the problems they're facing and stuff like that. So I think that's been great. Yesterday, there was, a great recruiting leadership keynote speaker that took a lot of and just reminders on staying on, checking in with your remote team and stuff like that. And everybody's feeling that pressure and has a little bit of that anxiety. And so it's been good to just kind of a refresher on, hey, we should check in and what other people are seeing and doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the remote thing's interesting. It's definitely come up as I've heard a lot of agencies. I think a lot of listeners to the podcast are definitely smaller boutique firms, definitely mostly under 50 and under type people, employed under even 100. What are some of the keys that you found in it's some of maybe the challenges, but solutions in terms of managing a remote team?
Yeah, just constant outreach and over communicate on things, right? And don't always make every outreach about business, right? It's okay to set up a coffee chat and just check in and see how your team's doing, how their family's doing, and outside of work and stuff like that. And I think when you have a really good team and you kind of understand both their goals professionally and personally, and you truly care about them as a person and not just a direct report, I think you see a lot of success in managing those remote folks. And I try to make it a point to with my remote folks at least quarterly go sit with them in person and at least have lunch, have dinner, do something in person and stuff like that. And I think that effort goes a long way with them as well.
I love that. And I think back my aerotech days, first couple of years, I felt robotic and just stiff for the sales process. And then as I got more comfortable, and then I had to get more comfortable with my team, versus what I thought a manager was.
Yep.
And I thought I was I'll get along. I like people. I'll get along great. And then you realize what managing is. It's hard.
Yeah.
You have to be active at it every single day. It doesn't just occur.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things we did at the beginning of January was like, I came off my first full year. I was like, okay, how can I get better? And I took this like great class. It was supposed to be like Lululemon, and it was like leadership, like setting goals.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I took that and I just set goals, personal. It was like business, personal, and like fitness goals.
Yeah.
And my whole team, we just did that. And then one was like, oh, I want to clear off my credit card debt and everything else. And then it was like a unified mission of like, oh, I want to get your spread up.
Yeah.
So you can get your commission up, so you can pay all this stuff, so you
Yeah.
can make more. Like that buy-in, like we hit our all-time high.
Yeah.
Like that, like 4 months later, 5 months later, like everyone, we crossed all 10K in weekly spread and everything else. And it was just like, oh, we did that together. And then he was like, hey, I paid this off and I paid that. And like we got all to see like each other hitting goals. And I think it's so important when I made it holistic about just like businesses and work as part of it, but then there's this whole life component too. And we did that in person, but he also reminding me like remotely, I could stand to do way better, because there's something about being remote that's like, it's almost like I feel like I fall in the trap. I think that's what you said. Like I get stuck in only business at times. Like I do the report, the chit chat in the beginning, but I feel like I can be more intentional with some of the partners that I work with and everything else. And just like life gets almost like easy with remote. It's like, all right, we got 30 minutes of talk work.
Yeah.
And like, let's go off and do our thing.
Yep.
Whereas like, you don't like slow down virtually sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be really intentional with that. And absolutely, I fall into that trap. And have to remind myself, like, let's slow down, understand, address them as a person first and understand what's going on and stuff like that. And then kind of get into the business stuff. And, I've tried to get into, I do kind of midweek check-ins. That my midweek check-in, it's their time. If they want to talk about business, we talk about business. And, more times than not, we probably end up talking about life outside of work and stuff like that. And then we'll just do a quick, hey, give me a status update on where we're at with that role. And we jump off and go on our way.
It's amazing what happens. You treat people like adults.
Yeah.
And just like actual people that have lives 24/7.
Yeah.
Not just 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Or let's just say 8 to 8 in recruiting, right?
Yeah.
But like it is amazing. It's so easy to fall away from it. And I count that as like one of the, like, I'm like that, and I have to like figure out that calibration.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. And let's extend that to, I'll say, like, to clients.
Yeah.
Right? So we talked about remote with changed. What's been the evolution? You started right before, a year or two before COVID, it hit right at Capstone. Then you went through the COVID, and now we're 2025. Are you meeting people back in person more now? Is it like still kind of virtual? What's that, like, that breakdown for you?
Yeah, we're still meeting people in person if we can. As part of our process, we like to try to meet with people, and sometimes it ends up being over Zoom, just to put a face with a name and stuff like that. But both our business development team and our recruiters, I think, at least myself, has been a little bit more surprised at how quickly kind of people started I actually would like to see people in person and stuff like that. And, being in the IT space, right, a lot of they're one of the first sectors to really go fully remote and really adopt that. Now they're one of the first sectors that's really, hey, we've got this office space. We're going to do a return to office. And so, you see a lot of candidates now that are really wanting to stay remote. And so we're having to navigate that hurdle. But I do think there is a decent chunk of both clients, managers, hiring managers, C-suite executives, and in some aspects, your frontline employees that, if you can find that sweet spot of like 2 days in the office, they're golden. I think the biggest challenge is going to be a lot of people set their lives around what remote look like. And so you just got to have flexibility to where, that in office may not look like the 9 to 5 that it did pre-COVID. It may be, hey, I'm in the office till noon, and then I've got to do pickup, and I got 3 young kids, and so I'm usually scrambling out of the office to get a daughter to dance or get a son to t-ball practice and do all this stuff. And so I certainly get that for sure.
Are you seeing clients and companies being more receptive to that? And I know, because it's just a point of friction, right?
Yep.
Like, what's kind of been the consensus on that, at least from like the company side?
I think on the company side, it tends to be pretty receptive. I think the biggest friction point is the candidate side. As soon as they hear hybrid or any part of on-site, the conversation quickly ends. So it's, we had that the session yesterday where the AI bot was handling objections and stuff like that. I'd actually be kind of curious to see how it would handle and on-site versus remote objection. And a lot of conversations on the candidate side end up being well, let me explain what hybrid or what this would look like at this particular client or at this site. And let's see if that aligns with kind of what you're looking for and stuff like that. And, and when you take the conversation from that approach on how can we make this structure to fit your life and your schedule, and then you just put that to the hiring manager and say, hey, this is a great candidate. They fit all your needs. They're a 10 out of 10 on what you're looking for, but they need Wednesdays and Thursdays. They've got to be they got to leave the office by 3. They can't come in until 9 on Mondays or whatever it is because of child pickup. Most hiring managers are saying, hey, if they're getting the job done, I'm good.
Yeah. Look, if all this craziness results in some of that stuff, that seems like a healthy balance.
Yep.
What was happening pre-COVID to immediately right down kind of during COVID.
Yep.
There can be some nice harmony there.
Yep.
I would say. And I mean, it sounds like the companies and candidates that are open to that and not so headstrong about things that it's you do kind of have to evolve or else the market will leave you behind.
Yeah.
A little bit. And that I have picked up a lot of that here. We talk about the AI. I was wondering if I was going to get fired yesterday and I own my own business. If I was going to get replaced. But that is it's being evolving with the market, but not also getting overwhelmed with the tech and the suit and all that. And I think just creating, one of the things I'm hearing you're doing a great job creating space, both for your team, both for companies or for candidates. And I think in this market where it can be really tense, the people that are kind of creating space for people to let their guard down a little bit. I mean, it's BD 101,
right?
But to kind of let their guard down a little bit. It's just get through where are you really at? And I'm good either way. If it makes sense for you for this job, or if it makes sense for us to work on your role, fine. If not, that's okay too.
Yeah.
And just giving people the out when things are adapting so quickly, you start to get to the truth a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of those things, especially with all the noise, right? And before we jumped on, right, I was talking, we've had several clients that, and even here today, right? You hear internal teams and people are posting jobs, they're getting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 applicants for a job. And so for us, it's a little bit more of all right, so how can we partner with you to, not maybe take on as much tech debt in terms of new AI tools, or, how can we help reduce the noise to say, okay, so instead of getting 3,000 candidates, what if I got you 10, 15, 20, whatever it ends up being, qualified, vetted out candidates that meet your role, and then your recruiting team's only focusing more on, internal stuff and just having more conversations with
stuff like that.
Then you're just having the conversations around values, culture fit, onboarding stuff and things like that. And you're only talking to qualified folks instead of spending time with, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
You're on the phone and 10 minutes in, you're like, okay, I need to find a way to politely get off this call, but I've got a really long-winded person on the phone. So you got to try to find a way to navigate to where you can professionally and politely end the call and stuff like that. So I think that's a part of the evolving landscape of, and it's been said a number of times, how do we shift from sourcing or recruiting to really being a strategic talent advisor and helping people achieve what their business goals are and stuff like that.
Well, you kind of have to, because all these companies are more and more, they're getting pitched all the time on tools. They're trying stuff out. The whole contingent model, retained or whatever, it's being put up to a microscope more than it ever has before.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you can't do that for some clients, but you just being able to take that in and just listen to what the market is saying and what they're looking at. And that's one of the takeaways I've had for agency recruiters. There's a lot of corporate recruiters here. It's just what I was just saying, I just tell people just be chill in your outreach, and we don't have to pitch as much because everyone here is getting pitched all the time. But everyone here also has significant problems that recruiting agencies can help. They're also all trying to learn how to recruit the best agency recruiters. So realize that they are trying to figure out what you're doing without paying your fees.
Right.
So just but it's critical to understand in BD, because I'm always conversation at scale, false content, showcase your knowledge, that you know what you're doing and everything else, because there are people here that are sourcers that are learning how to source.
Yep.
And just know that. And recruiters would be listen, wait, really? That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
That's okay, because they got that job because they have, try not to finish here, but different skill sets that they brought to the table. But so they just don't know how to sort through all the pitches.
Yeah.
Right. So just find out every team has challenges. Your only goal should be to find out what those challenges are, not to page.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of our everyday, right? And taking that intel and sharing it across the team and what you're seeing, what you're running into, and and then using that. And I had a conversation earlier around like, all right, so then how do we do that to make content to then make yourself the expert in the space and really figure out who exactly you're trying to talk to and really want to interact and engage with your posts and stuff like that. So
no, it's all, I mean, it's super cool because like you feel like at parts I feel like super ahead, and then sometimes I hear something I'm like, wow, I'm way behind.
yeah,
Right. And I think that's a good place to be.
yeah,
Right. Like, okay, I made some gains here, but then there's like, oh, there's so much more you could do.
Yeah.
And then you come to a place like this, it could be like shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we could do this, we could solve that, we could all that. It's like, all right, we got to stay in our lane,
Yeah.
a little bit and kind of go
I think,
from there.
and I, you and I talked about this. I just was talking about this with Joel too. Of the interesting part of like when I started in this industry, nobody shared secrets. Nobody wanted to give, and nobody wanted to talk inside baseball. Nobody wanted to. Nobody wanted to give anything away. And then it's kind of one of those. Hey, we're kind of all on the same boat, and either we're going to go down due to AI, or we're going to figure out how to work together and share what's being successful, stuff like that. And just left that session where everybody, there were a few people in there that were willing to share their AI agents and their GPTs that they had created to help them with candidate submissions or, getting intel, market information to, doing candidate evaluations and stuff like that, to where it's like, hey, we may be competitors, but let's figure out what's working and stuff like that. It's not going to you're not taking business from me. I'm not taking business from you. But we can work together to creatively solve some problems. There's a lot of really smart people that have been in these rooms, and it's kind of one of those things. I think people in this industry weren't willing to share, and now it's much more of, hey, if you can get in a room or on a panel or anything like that and talk to other really smart people, you're probably going to start figuring some things out, and ultimately might find something pretty innovative like a lot of these companies have, and start solving some business problems.
The market research has been insane for me on a personal level of just like, and that was my goal. Like I didn't go up and talk yesterday and like sell and pitch and everything else. I was like, I just want to learn. Like, cause I've been like so in my like lab, if you will, for like a few years, working with clients. So like, wait, what is going on out here? And they can have that approach. And one of the things for me, I learned in what Joel just hosted with the Combat AI was, he's like, who here has heard of Clay?
Yeah.
Right? We're looking at this for agency recruiter. Clay, right? By now. I think it was me, you, and another agency recruiter, the only people that raised their hands.
Yeah.
So none of the corporate people have learned about Clay.
Yeah.
And it's like, but our whole digital recruiter audience has probably heard about it. You and I have heard it, messed around with it and tried to, and all that stuff. It's like, there is such opportunities.
Yeah.
Out there. I mean, you could do Clay implementations and source and pipeline. There's so much that you can do. It's really cool. And I think if you haven't been to these events and all that, like, get out to an event, because like it'll change like your perspective, and you'll learn, and it'll be like very validating. Like you're on the right track. And I think a lot of our audience and I'm for like you're just like, okay, like we got a good thing going. Like, let's just keep going down this path. Like we have a good pulse of the market, but knowing where they're at and being able to like figure out, okay, this is how we can meet them with where they're at, from messaging and sequencing and content. Like, that's what you can really gain out of this too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the other kind of refreshing thing, is that it has been validating of like, all right, so we are chasing the right things. Because to your point, right? You get pitched on new tools, new ideas, and you start seeing this stuff, and you're like, man, are we doing the right stuff? Are we really far behind everybody else? And then you come here and you're like, oh, actually, we're having some of the same problems other people are having, and they're solving them in a little bit different way. And you bounce ideas back and forth and stuff like that, which has been really neat.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Well, any last takeaways you want to give to the audience, give to the people?
No, I think if you get a chance or have the opportunity to come to one of these events, I definitely would strongly recommend it. It's been very good, very, very fruitful for me so far, and looking forward to the rest of the day today, and continuing to talk with folks and networking with people.
I love it. Well, Chris Cabe, Capstone IT, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this episode, Digital Recruiter Podcast. If you got some value out of it, like, subscribe, connect with Chris on LinkedIn. Until next time, happy hunting.